Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Season 7 review. This is brought to you by Nufflesnumbers.net and Trev. So we're going to look through all of Season 7. It says. There we go. Right. In the data, we've now got SR data, so we can see how people are getting on in the ladder. We've got the coach platform, so we can see how many PS5 and Xbox players there are. And we've also got all the pre-crossplay console data as well, which is nice. Seasonal comparisons. There's some nice lines for you. Whoosh. So, in Season 7, we had the most matches played. And you can see actually that that's the green line, and it shows that the game is getting bigger. Right? Even Hancock's going to play it soon. Maybe. But I think that's just showing that Season 3 we had 150,000 players, 160, 164, 168, and then 184. And yes, the more matches have been played because different things that you can do inside the game. No, the down arrow doesn't work. This is the ladder matches played by season. So green bar is the same green that previously, but we'll notice that it's actually the lowest, and that's because ladder matches were down season on season, but that's because several matches were played in the arena, which is the best mode.
Spider.
So ladder matches weren't impacted that heavily by arena. It was a little bit, but not by much. This is the event. This shows the difference in popularity between the halfling event, the stunty event, which is the red line, and the green event, which is the arena. And I think that's quite cool, actually, because it's almost still a 90-degree angle, which means that you were still getting games being played right up until the end of the season, rather than it being a bit of a curve and there being a flattening out of games. We were still seeing lots of games played even right near the end. Yeah, 45 degrees, absolutely, yeah. Right, it stands tall.
This is gonna be fun. We can stay up late, swapping manless stories, and in the morning, I'm making wow.
Now let's dive into the actual detail. Concessions by season, ladder only. We are seeing a 3% increase in concessions season on season over season 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's telling me that with more newer players, probably, we are seeing more people piecing out of the game earlier on, which is not great. But never mind. Because a 2% swing in concedes is going to feel quite a lot because it's two people playing in one game, and you're, of course, if you get conceded on, then you're going to get more concedage. Ladder numbers by season. PC, PlayStation, Xbox. So we've got total number of players playing in the ladder. It's kind of gone down a little tiny bit, only by a couple of hundred. And we can see now for the very first time that the PC Master Race is making up most of the player base, and the consoles are not. What's this? I would say this is, what, 75% PC? So a third of the coaches ladder leaving each season. Well, JLev, yes. We'll get onto that. It's one of the future slides. And we can see that total new coaches were 4,000 new coaches. But if the ladder numbers are staying static and we're pouring in 4,000 new coaches every season, that means that we've also got an exodus of 4,000 new coaches. So something's probably still a bit wrong with the ladder. It's not got the sustainability factor. Otherwise, we'd be seeing a 45-degree line, as Cheeky Jimmy likes to point out. Coaches games played in season 5, 6, and 7, and this follows a very obvious pattern. So games 1 to 5, really that could actually just say games 1 to 3 or games 1 to 2. I think people are playing a couple of games, and if they don't like it, they leave. And we're losing a lot of the player base in that first 5 games. So we need to do something different, and I say we, really it's Cyanide needs to do something different to try and encourage people to play between game 2 and game 6. But once you've got them to play game 6, if you actually look at that, they basically play all the way out to about 40 games, somewhere between 21 and 40 games. And then we start seeing the tailing off. That's probably to do with the Blood Pass, because there's a reason to play between 6 and 40. So that's showing how many players are completing the Blood Pass every season. And then we start seeing a dramatic decrease because the Blood Pass disappears. So the reason that this season's event has a 3-step element to it is to try and get people to play in month 2 and month 3. Also, that's why we've got the Warpstone quests per week, which is you can earn 25 Warpstone a week if you play once you've completed the Blood Pass. That's another little carrot to try and get people to play. I'd like to see the Blood Pass, the Warpstone increase to maybe 100 Warpstone a week, but that would be, or even 50. I think 50 is probably not bad. But it's interesting to see that they are aware of this data. I've shared it with them, and we are starting to see little carrots to try and get people to play in this bracket here, right? How do we keep this player base to play all the way out here? Can you see my mouse on the screen or not? You can, yeah. But the biggest thing we need to address as a community is this. How do we stop people just disappearing en masse? Now we got the one that a lot of you like, which is the win rate stats. We have Orcs being top of the heap at 53%, Dwarves at 50% because they're boring. And really, matches played, which is the 4th column there, shows why I was quite keen to try and push teams that are really strong in ladder shouldn't get help in ladder at all from a randoming perspective. And it's not a shock that Orcs, Dwarves, Chaos Chosen and Undead all do incredibly well with the reversion of random primary because they've got access to strength. And I think that it's a problem that this is. We need to get people to play Wood Elves and Elven Union and Imperial Nobility and OWA, because then you get a slightly more varietous matchmaking. And if we can get a variety of matchmaking games, it probably makes a slightly more enjoyable experience, probably helps people play more. Get rid of SR. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not on the table. Race stats previous season by season. Unsurprisingly, Norse played an awful lot because they were the new season team. They didn't played last season because they weren't there. And Orcs remaining steady. Necro dropped off considerably, which is a bit of a surprise. Undead kind of stayed similar. Where were the big losers? Lizards dropped off a little bit. Humans dropped off a bit. Dwarves gained. Oh, that's gross, isn't it? That's actually should be a plus. Oh, no, it's a no. Dwarves did lose. So, but there was less games played in the ladder overall. Isn't it funny how the things that prove unpopular are here to stay? Well, no redraft means that Bash is a logical choice. Zelmore, I think adding redraft into the ladder would be absolutely a big win. And if you wanted to do the ladder in, let's say, 10 or 15 game sprints, and you would only play people in your redraft cycle. So if you've redrafted once, you play people in redraft cycle 1. If you played redraft cycle 2, you're in people in cycle 2, and so on and so forth. I think that would be much more interesting and would help some of the teams. And I think you would see more. That would be a better thing. Right, who's playing who by TV? What that is effectively showing there is how many games are played by TV difference. So the stuff on the left-hand side is low TV difference, and the stuff on the right-hand side is high TV difference. That graph is showing that about 75% of all games are played inside 100 to 150 TV. And hardly any games are played outside that, which is quite interesting. And the concession rates are proportional. 7,000 games were played at 300 TV, and 2,600 games had a concession rate. So actually, you're far more likely to concede at that than you are here. Or maybe not, actually. No, that's not true, is it? 74,000 and 31,000. Double that and add some more. Double that and add some more. No. Concession rate just stays the same, right? Who's playing who by SR? So a lot of SR games are played within 100%. 80% of all games, you're going to get a game within your 100 SR, and nearly nothing is being played outside that. So if you're suddenly playing down 300 SR, you're in 0.5% or 1% territory. The 100 to a 0-100 SR gap for 80% of games makes randoming even stronger. Yes, it does, Flute. Randoming is a serious problem for balance. There are some... It's Games Workshop's problem. Randoming was designed for a 15-game season, and you to basically not have that team afterwards. Maybe keep 1 or 2 players. It was not designed to play 85 games on a ladder within 3 weeks, right? It's not. However, this chart here, it looks like you've just fired a pellet gun at the wall a load of times, but bottom right-hand corner is better. Nine-game season. Yeah, probably, JLav. It's designed... All right, my point is it's designed for a short season thing, right? So, what that is showing is that the paintball gun in Season 7 is quite tight. So your TV diff, SR diff is pretty good now. Whereas in Season 4, in the top left, it was a little bit all over the place. Most of the time you're playing someone in your SR and in your TV. Even though you're waiting a bit longer, I think that it is broadly getting a matchmaking, which is a lot better. Although saying that, 500 TV is fucking massive, right? So really, you'd be looking for it to be paintballed in sort of here. So maybe the TV difference is still a problem, and the SR difference is still a You want to be 250 tops. Oh, hang on, what was that one? Ladder matchmaking. Yeah. Hang on, what? We just jump back again. Season 5 shows cope. So the Season 5 ladder was the best one. Oh, matches played versus SR. This is matches played versus SR. That's quite nice. As you play more matches, you're likely to not see much of an SR difference. And they're definitely changing the matchmaking algorithm, like, because that's completely different to that distribution. So whatever's going on with the algorithm, it's definitely being messed with. We're just not privy to what it is. Now we've got Arena. This shows basically how well balanced Arena was or wasn't. And I think this is quite interesting. If you run a tournament and are not using Euro Bowl rules, I think that you could use this amount of data to actually say we could tune the rule set a little bit. So Necro, weirdly, were a little bit overtuned with a win rate of 57%. Undead, 56%, probably a little bit strong. 6 block lizards, also a bit strong. Probably 5 block lizards is probably appropriate for lizards now. OWA, Wood Elves, Dark Elves all doing very well. I think within 45 to 55, that's fine. So Necro and Undead needed a little bit taking off the top. And then at the other end of the scale, we still need to add a little bit more to the Norse, Renegades, Black Orcs, Pro Elves, Chaos, and dare I say it, possibly even Dwarves. Goblins and Halflings are actually tuned about correctly because they shouldn't be competitive. They should have a notable drop off because then you're not playing them at top end of tables towards the end of a tournament. So they're tuned about correctly. And Underworld are also a little bit undertuned now. And instead they boosted Woodies and Necro. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Skaven will have a massive win rate this season. But I think this slide actually, I think this is for me my favourite slide on the whole deck. And I'm really surprised how strong Necro have been in this. Be interesting to see where they actually play out this season. Which VIP was responsible for these rule changes? No, I'm not telling you. And that is the last slide. So I hope that's useful. I hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you very much indeed for watching. And we'll go back to me.